have a relationship. Assume.
Yes. Thank you, Mark, for sharing that insight. Now we stay on this topic. Now, Danish Defence Minister Troels Lund Poulsen has said that Russia is currently waging a hybrid war against NATO and the West. This comes as there were drone sightings in Denmark last week that has forced the closure of Danish airports. The sightings have also prompted European countries to discuss plans for a drone wall. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has joked that he would not fly drones over Denmark anymore. Russia has also denied responsibility for last week's drone sightings in Denmark. Separately, Poland and its NATO allies have shot down Russian drones in Polish airspace last month. Meanwhile, the Danish intelligence service has said that it is still investigating last week's drone sightings. The intelligence service has said that they do not know who was behind the drones. Now we go back to our guest discussion with Mark Sutherland. He's a geopolitical commentator, joins us live from London. Thank you, Mark, for staying with us. Now, Denmark just hosted some leaders alongside Zelensky just yesterday. And now, what role does Denmark play in facilitating dialogue between Ukraine and European leaders?
You've just referred to the incursion of the drone incursion, which they do not know who actually did that, whether that was Russian, whether that was someone else within their own country. And of course, where Denmark is situated, and also with Greenland as well, and all of those states, it is, we hope not, but that's an important theatre of war if that ever went down that road. So these summits are then put in the calendar, and because of what's happened recently to Denmark, that's why their first minister is saying what they are saying, because of the incursions, because of what's been going on, sadly with what's happening in Ukraine and Russia, hence their comments, hence the other comments, because Germany have said this, of looking at how can we combat these drone incursions. Now, Vladimir Putin has then said, well, I promise not to fly drones over again. Remember, the Russians are so good at denial, obfuscation, coming up with their own propaganda. But Denmark is then discussing this with all the other European leaders. It's collectivization on that front. And they just feel that with NATO, this is the way that they can stand together, because they are concerned about Russia's actions in Ukraine. Assume.
And now looking at all these drone attacks and many disruptions that's happening without particularly someone being held responsible. So how do you think that Europe should move forward to counter and protect their infrastructure against these kind of incidents?
Well, as you say, it's where she refers to hybrid, whether that's sabotage, whether the drone attacks, or whether that's hacking, whether someone would then hack various aspects of banking system or other infrastructure of a country. And this is happening all the time to a greater or lesser extent for various countries around the world. And everyone has to beef that up as everyone is so digitally focused. There is discussions about this constantly, and how they can then build up these protections, as you referred to, as we've just referred to, looking at how do we have protection here against drones. A lot of this technology, of course, is new, but it's being used in such a huge way within the theatre of war, meaning that you haven't got to send human beings in, you haven't then got to send other assets in like tanks, but you are then relying on drones. So if you're relying on that, you've then got to build the defense systems to combat them, and they're out there. So that is what they've now got to get together. As I say again, I underline this, we want this to stop. And the way to stop this is people have to be round a table on both sides having a discussion about this, and the sooner the better.
Yes, indeed. And but as these incidents keep occurring, Europe is moving towards building more defense capabilities. So how do you think, how long will it take for Europe to catch up to maybe not catch up, but to catch up so that they will be able to protect themselves? And how do you think they have to balance? How will they balance between being democratic and between this increasing of defense capabilities?
Assuming again, you raise a very good question, and you allude to that because there is an element of people like von der Leyen and people at the top, inverted commas, of the European Union, a body that the UK voted to leave, and I thought we had left, but that doesn't seem to be the government policy. Well, we're virtually taken in there, but not in name only. Van der Leyen, etc., has been accused of pushing towards tyranny, whether that's control of what people say on the internet, and also looking as though they are looking for to increase, you know, a war with Russia in many ways, instead of turning around and saying, well, we need to actually de-escalate this. Now, people would have a go at me for saying that, but they have got to then come together. How do you have that balance between, of course, defense, but also between freedom of speech and other democratic, passionately we all believe in, but that is also under attack as well. It's looking at how we got here, looking at why Europe has been reliant on Russian energy, which is something that Donald Trump questioned in his first term, looking at those relationships. Because if we had done earlier on, maybe we may not have been in this situation. We then have to go back to 1994 when we're asked Ukraine to get rid of nuclear weapons. We will stand by you. There is so much in here historically that has led to this point. Now, I'm not a military expert. I don't know how long it takes to sort this kind of technology out that is then needed, but that is then going to have to be sorted out. That's what the Europeans are then looking at. And also to add, the Russians are also, every time, as someone else has commented on this, every time they are flying drones over an individual country, it means
Yes.
that assets that they would apply and give to Ukraine direct may not be going there straight away. They might have to be diverted to the particular countries.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mark Sutherland, for joining us and sharing that insight. Now we have a breaking news. The organizers of